You are listening to Lighthearted, the official podcast of the United States Lighthouse Society. My name is Jeremy D'Entremont. Welcome. Today is September 7th, 2025, and this is episode 325 of Lighthearted. My co-host today has been part of this podcast since day one, literally, very first co-host. Award-winning volunteer for Friends of Portsmouth Harbor Lighthouses, Cindy Johnson. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Great to have you back. It has been a while since you last co-hosted. It's so good to see and hear you. We're recording on Zoom right now. So good to have you back on the podcast.
Well, thanks. It's really nice to be here.
Well, don't be a stranger. So I hope you can come back and co-host now and then, because it doesn't feel like the same podcast without you. So regular listeners will remember that you and I, and of course our other frequent co-host, Michelle Jewel Shaw, we're all very involved with Portsmouth Harbor Lighthouse here on the New Hampshire seacoast. It's taken some big hits from storms in recent years, the past couple of years, and we are now raising money to rebuild the footbridge, the 84-foot footbridge that provided access to the lighthouse before it was washed away in late 2022. And I miss the days when we gave tours there. I'm sure you miss those days too.
I do, but I especially miss the days when we could easily access the lighthouse, honestly.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's really weird.
It just feels so wrong to look at. There's no walkway there. We did get some work done on the base, of course, so that got wrecked in the storms in January of last year. But that's a much better shape now. But we're we need to rebuild that footbridge, and we have a current fundraising effort that's going pretty well right now. We've had some major donations from Lighthouse Credit Union, New England Lighthouse Lovers, and others, and a lot of individuals have been kicking in. But we still have a long way to go. People can learn more at portsmouthharborlighthouse.org. There's also a GoFundMe page. Giving tours there at Portsmouth Harbor Light has really been one of my favorite things that I've ever been involved with lighthouses, and in my 40 years or whatever it's been. And I cannot wait to start doing that again.
Yeah.
So let's get to today's interview, which is about Curtis Island Lighthouse in Camden, Maine. Have you been there, Cindy?
I haven't actually been to the lighthouse, but I did spend the day in Camden once several years ago, and it's such a beautiful area.
It is. Gets a little congested on Route 1 cutting right through the center of town in summer, but otherwise, I love Camden. Just a great little town, and the harbor, I think, is absolutely the prettiest I've ever seen. I've been going there probably since the 80s. On the recent trip, when I recorded the interview we're about to hear about Curtis Island, I had just, when I recorded the interview, I had just gotten off from spending a week on the schooner Mary Day out of Camden. There's several of they call them windjammers also, these tall ships. Schooners that some of them give day sails out of Camden, maybe 2 or 3 hours, but some go on multiple day vacations, excursions. And I was on for 6 days. I was asked to speak about lighthouses. There were about 36 people on board. It's a pretty amazing experience.
I'm sure it must have been. Did you, so when you conducted this interview, did you still have your sea legs, or did you have your land legs yet?
Somewhere in between, but I was doing a lot of running around. It was a hot, muggy day, and I just loaded my luggage off the boat into the car and everything, went into the library there in Camden to do the interview.
Wow.
I got to say, my cabin was so small on the schooner, there was barely room for me and my bags, literally. Little tiny bed with like an overhang above my head, like I'd say less than 2 feet above my head. So I can't tell you how many times I forgot and started to sit up, or thought I had cleared it and didn't, that kind of thing. And I must have whacked my head at least 10 or 12 times during the week. But luckily I have a very hard head, so I survived.
I've seen you hit your head on a lot of things over the years, unfortunately.
I'm known for it. Yeah, I'm good at it.
Yep.
Yeah. I hit my head on the storage shed at Portsmouth Harbor Light one time. I don't think you were there that day, but I hit it so hard that I just fell immediately on the ground. I was just sitting there on the ground, and I said some choice words very loudly. And a Coast Guard guy, of course, it's on the Coast Guard station. One of the young Coast Guard guy was walking by me, and he heard the stuff I was saying, and he just laughed and kept walking. But
oh my goodness! But you were actually pretty hurt.
I was pretty hurt, but I mean, I recovered. But I was like seeing stars,
Hmm.
But I digress. But anyway, the schooner experience was a great experience in spite of hitting my head a few times. I really loved it. I actually put together a little video of that week. It was a lighthouse sail for those 6 days. So we went near most of the lighthouses in Penobscot Bay, and I put together a little video that
Oh yeah,
people
I
can
did watch
see.
that
Oh,
on
did you?
YouTube. Hmm.
Yeah. How'd you like it?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was nice, to be sitting at home and watching that.
It was fun. I'm a frustrated filmmaker, so I always enjoy putting things like that together. So again, people can go to the USLHS YouTube channel. Just go
Hmm.
on YouTube and search for USLHS. That and a lot of other good things are on there. Uh, you said it was nice just sitting at home watching that. Have you ever thought about spending an extended vacation on a schooner or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
I thought you might
Not for
say that.
me. That's why I enjoyed your video because it
Yeah.
was, yeah, really nice to see from the comfort of home.
I know boats and you are not necessarily the best friends.
Well, I love a little harbor cruise, just, no rough seas. I'd love to do, maybe a couple of hours, but I just can't imagine spending a whole week. I mean,
Right.
it sounds awesome, but I'm just not that adventurous. And then once you started telling me about your cabin and everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh
Well, it was
dear.
fun. I could see the camaraderie the crew has. The captain was really nice.
Yeah.
And game playing at night. A lot of the passengers were playing cards below deck,
That's
and
cool. But just the
yeah,
whole experience, so it wasn't just about sailing in the lighthouses.
right,
You had this whole week-long experience with all these
yeah,
people and yeah,
yeah. It really was a lot of fun.
that's
So shout
cool.
out to if anybody's listening from the schooner Mary Day. Thanks for the great experience. So we should probably move along and get to today's interview. So please help me out, City. Please help tell everyone about Curtis Island and our guest.
Sure, Jeremy. Camden, Maine's well-protected harbor on Penobscot Bay helped the town develop major lime kiln and shipbuilding industries in the 19th century. 7-acre Curtis Island, a short distance offshore at the entrance to the harbor, was long known as Negro Island. The first lighthouse on the island was established in 1836.
For many years, the island served as a signal station for the large steamships that passed by. When the keeper saw one of the passenger steamers approaching, he hoisted a large ball up to the top of a tall pole. The word would go out that the ball is up, and Camden hack drivers and others would prepare for the arrival of the vessel at the steamboat wharf.
A new keeper's house was built in 1889, and the 25-foot brick lighthouse tower that still stands was built in 1896. It was an attractive light station for keepers and their families, and several keepers stayed for 10 years or more.
The name of the island was changed to Curtis Island in 1934 in memory of Cyrus H.K. Curtis, publisher of the Saturday Evening Post and other publications. He had died in the previous year. He was also a generous benefactor of the town of Camden.
The light was automated in 1972. The town of Camden now owns the island and the lighthouse, but the Coast Guard cares for the light itself as an active aid to navigation. In 2023, the Curtis Island Lighthouse Foundation was established with a mission to historically restore the light station and to develop a perpetual preservation fund in partnership with the town of Camden.
I interviewed Michael Skaling at the Camden Public Library just after I got off the schooner Mary Day, as I was just telling you. Michael is the president of the Curtis Island Lighthouse Foundation, and he's really taken a lead role in the preservation of the historic site. We had been trying to schedule an interview for quite a while, probably for a few months at least. Before it happened, it was great to have a chance to sit down with Michael. Let's listen to our conversation now. I am here today, this morning. It's 2 minutes to 12, so I guess it's still morning. And I'm with Michael Skaling. We're actually in the Camden Public Library, in the Camden History Room, History Center, to be more precise. So thank you so much, Michael, for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. We've been talking about doing this for a year and a half, and it's nice that we're meeting, and it's great to meet you personally.
Yeah. Likewise. And, Camden is my favorite harbor. of any harbor I've seen ever anywhere.
Really?
I've always just loved Camden Harbor. I always enjoy coming here. Something special about it with the hills behind the harbor,
Yeah.
and the beautiful boats that are here, and the lighthouse at the entrance to the harbor. And for my money, Curtis Island is one of the prettiest lighthouses on the Maine coast.
Now, we think that too.
I had a feeling you did.
Every day when I look at it or I'm working on it, it's part of the why I'm doing it. It's a beautiful place.
Okay. Well, that leads me to my first question, which is maybe you could say a little bit about your background and how did you become so involved with Curtis Island?
Okay. My background, my university studies were in organizational development and change management and kind of the people side, social psychology in that area. And when we moved to Camden in the 80s, my wife and I, by the way, are both from Maine. I'm from Brunswick and she's from Pittsfield.
Okay.
And I took a position here in the hospital system in the 80s. And we loved it. And I would never get on the water very much. We would canoe out to the island periodically, but we just loved it here. And one of the first days when you just mentioned how you loved Camden, that's what convinced us. I came for an interview, I sat down on the dock, and I thought, wow, this is such a place. So long story short, we moved from southern Maine to here, and lived here. Then we moved back out west. Then we came back. We kept coming back to Camden, and we've lived here 3 different times.
Okay.
And we've loved it. We've been here for 15 years now.
Yeah.
So about 2016 or 17, my wife Pat and I were involved in historic preservation efforts, and we're on the supporting the town historic preservation committee. Historic Resources Committee of the town. And I got to know Dee Dee Conover through that, and because Dee Dee was involved in the history of the lighthouse, and as many of your listeners probably know, Dee Dee and the Conover family have been the caretakers for almost 40 years, the last 40 years. So we got to know Dee Dee and went out to the island, and she one time she came into the Historic Resources Committee, and she said, oh, some of my windows fell out last night, blew out in a storm over my head. And I said, oh, I can probably help you with that, because I grew up with a father that built houses and was around building. Again, we went after a grant, and my idea then was just exchange the windows, rip those out and put some new ones in. And that was part of my learning around historic preservation. No, you preserve what you can. And so we ended up getting a grant, and we preserved all the windows that were out there in the caretaker's house. And so gradually I just kept going out there and helping Dee Dee and helping preserve it, trying to get the town to put some money up for painting. And the last time we went to the town, they put money in for painting, and the painter needed to make sure all the rot was gone. So I hired someone to go out and clean up the rotted areas, but we discovered some more major rot in some of the sills. I called the town manager. I said, let's go at this correctly, and let's do it bottom to top, or top to bottom, and restore this building.
Sure. We'll get more into the restoration plans in a couple of minutes. But just a little bit more about Dee Dee Conover. The only time I've been on the island was about 10 years ago with her. Somebody, sort of an online friend, contacted me and said, "Do you want to come with me on a trip to Curtis Island?" I said, "Of course." And Dee Dee picked us up in her dory and took us out to the island. Yeah, and what a great experience. There's a picture of her on my website next to the optic there. So that was very memorable. And so Dee Dee, her late husband, Connie, who's known as Connie, right?
Yes.
As you said, were there, he passed away, I think maybe 10 years or something like that ago. And she passed away last year?
Yeah. This past year.
A little over 90, I believe. So they were there 40-ish years, as you said.
42 years.
Yeah. So What is the situation now? There are not resident caretakers currently, right?
Right. So the town of Camden owns the island, and there are no resident caretakers. We had a couple that, didn't work out long term for caretaking, and the town is kind of cautious about who goes out there. And we as a foundation, we would like to get some caretakers back on the island, because I think the presence there makes a lot of difference in terms of both getting work done and just keeping an eye on things.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of situations like that. I think of them sort of like modern day keepers. It's not like the traditional keepers, but still extremely important. So let me ask you, we talked about how special Camden Harbor is and everything, but Curtis Island in particular, what do you think what's special about Curtis Island?
It's so close to Camden. I mean, it's a half a mile out, but when you're on it, you feel like you could be on any island in Penobscot Bay, even the last one before Europe, and it's always peaceful there. It doesn't matter what the weather is. You feel challenged getting to the island, and then being on the island is just wonderful. And it's fun just fixing things up and trying to make it better and trying to preserve it.
There's something about islands in general, especially the ones that are less inhabited and everything, and they're special places. But Curtis Island is, like I said, my favorite harbor and one of the prettiest lighthouses, and there's something special about it. And even seeing it from the top of Mount Batty, it's fun seeing it from there. There's a lot of different angles you can get on it, and the nice public viewpoint that's available as well in town. Does your group have anything to do with maintaining that little trail or anything like that?
No, the town pretty much maintains the trail to the lookout, Curtis Island Lookout. We put some brochures out and try to keep, I don't know if I haven't looked at it the last couple of days, but we try to keep information there so people can learn more about it and go into the history of it. Go to our website.
There's a beautiful view from there. I've been there when kayakers are going by, added to the scene and everything. It's very, very nice. Along those same lines, what do you think Curtis Island means to the community here, to the people of Camden, to the community?
The community is really proud of it. I mean, they love it, but what is interesting, so many community members have never been on the island. So people see it as it's the point that they look at. When you look out of the harbor, there's Curtis Island. You don't see the lighthouse per se from that vantage point, but people just they're proud that it's here. It's one of the things they tell people about, and a lot of people kayak and get to the island, various canoe, kayak, or paddleboard or swim.
Well, in so many communities, lighthouses are one of the kind of the focal points of the community, and often among the oldest structures. You got some old houses here that I think predate the lighthouse by the original light station, 1835. So
started 1835.
Yeah.
I think they built it for $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah, the island was probably sold to the government for a couple of $100 or something. I don't remember the amount.
$600.
Okay, yeah. It would sell for a little bit more than that today, I think.
I think so.
If it's sold. So you mentioned that the town, of course, owns the light station. The light is still an active light. The light itself maintained by the Coast Guard, right?
Coast Guard owns the light equipment, the batteries and the solar.
The related apparatus and everything. Again, the town owns it. The group, the Curtis Island Lighthouse Foundation, supports that through planning and fundraising. Would that be a good way to put it?
Yes. So what we realized was the town has so many big projects, and with our interest in the history and the physical buildings and the light tower, we wanted to make sure it gets preserved. And in the town, we know it's going to be difficult to put all the money that it's going to need to restore it and not just do patchwork. Yeah. And so our vision was, let's restore this historically and then create a fund also for perpetual maintenance of an endowment for perpetual maintenance. Yeah. So the town long term won't have to really won't have to be putting out hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars on projects.
Yeah, or millions ultimately, probably.
It is.
Yeah, it's not getting any less expensive to maintain properties offshore like that. Everything costs more. And
we've seen this year. We had planned to restore the roof structure of the caretaker's house, and what we thought was going to be $150,000 came out to $300,000. So we kind of stepped back and we'll say, let's make a big thrust for raising funds between now and next spring, and really be ready to go next spring and do it. In the meantime, preserve whatever needs to be protected.
Tell me about the Curtis Island community visioning process. What's that?
Okay. So what we wanted to do is to see where do community members see the future? What do they want to see the island and so be in the future? So I created, and I'd done this in some of my consulting work and working with businesses, just creating a vision based on what do you see it being 5 years from now? If you go away and you knew it's going to get fixed, what would you like to see? What would its functions be? And so we set up workshops and then an online version where they answer basically 3 questions. What are you most proud of for the lighthouse? What do you worry most about? And the third one is, what's your vision? How do you see it operating and being, and what would you see on the island, and what would you be doing on the island 5 years from now? And so instead of thinking like next year when things are still in there's a lot of movement going in terms of raising funds and actually doing the work. So we did that. We had over 80 people that participated, and there were several themes that came out. I think a couple of them I'll mention. How do you keep it from being too populated? And that has a lot to do with access to the island. So if you put up a big dock and let any boat, any size, land there and drop people, that's going to really affect this delicate island. And it's only 6 acres. It's not a big island. So that was sort of one of the themes that came out. Another was, let's have workings between the town and the foundation sort of seamless, so there's sort of one plan going forward. Let's get people out to the island at various times, and what we want to do is have special days like the National Lighthouse Day or the State Lighthouse Day.
Maine Open Lighthouse Day.
Maine Open Lighthouse. And so we're going to do that. We've been we thought we would do the National Lighthouse Day. I think it's on the
August 7th.
August 7th. But we pulled back from that because in testing getting to the island, if there's any wind at all, it's really tough.
Sure.
Landing a boat of any size on it.
Yeah. So it's a little hard to plan. You can schedule something, but it might be canceled. Yeah. But I was wondering, I was going to ask you about that. I understand completely the delicate environment and everything. You don't want to over stress the place. Along those lines, is it an important nesting site for any birds or anything like that? Or
in the past there have been eagles, there have been osprey, and we're about ready to do. I'm in conversations with a couple of people about doing a bird study.
Okay.
To what's the baseline of birds, and maybe working that into next year so we know. And we had a bird study done, or the Conovers had one done probably 20 years ago, so it would be a good time to do another one. I don't know that there are any. I don't think there are any eagles. We thought there may have been early, but haven't seen any of them. But there are certainly eagles around
in the area. Sure.
Yeah. And Canada geese nest there every year, and they've obviously fledged, and most of them are off the island. They kind of create a mess at the
believe me, I think most of us are familiar with that.
Yeah.
They're beautiful birds, but they're not the tidiest birds. Yeah. So one of the things I was reading about on your website was the thought of kind of expanding the use of the island as an educational resource. So what sorts of things are being talked about with that?
It's early on in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our strong values. And we're thinking getting kids over there in the spring for
Mm-hmm.
their classes or in the fall. Having things on land where sharing the history of the island, we could do them with the library, and we've got a pretty good collection kind of going. But it's going to take someone to kind of organize the details of it. But I've got 2 or 3 people on the committee, on the foundation, one of the committees, one of the volunteers, or several volunteers. They're anxious to dig in. For me, it's like, how do you bring this story to life? We're just so focused right now on the how do you preserve the place that
Sure.
that's a little bit in a back seat, but it's there as one of our core values that
Good.
we want to promote.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of inviting you to come up and talk one day.
Well, we could definitely talk about that.
Okay.
Let's not forget that idea. It's a possibility. But, a lot of light stations like Burnt Island and Booth Bay Harbor, for one, have had not oral history, but living history presentations where you have people, might maybe have somebody dressed as a keeper and portraying family members and that sort of thing, speaking to the public. So that maybe you've considered that, but that, if it's not going to be open on a regular basis, maybe that would only be in the special days.
Probably special days. And the problem is the island doesn't have any electricity.
Right.
There's no water and there's no sewage.
Yeah.
The old sewage system is there with a pipe that extended out, and that's long shut down.
Right. What is the status of the restoration plan?
So we did a full assessment of professional through historic building architects. Came in and did this wonderful assessment. It's like 130 pages long, and it documents every building. So there are 4 buildings. There's the light tower, the light keeper's house, an oil shed, and a barn. And the barn is not a large barn. It's kind of a workshop type area. We've documented each of those buildings, what they need. Did some estimates on what it would cost to do that if we were to just go out to bid and bid everything out. It scared people.
Yeah.
It was so much money.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is taking sort of the best of that and going after our urgent areas, which will be the metalwork on the light tower and the roof structure of the lightkeeper's house. Those are the first 2 things. The oil shed and the barn, volunteers can kind of pick away at some of the projects there.
Sure.
But really focusing on what's it going to take to fix those 2 things. The light towers probably will be the most expensive.
You have to put a scaffolding around it. Probably.
Scaffolding, the brickwork needs to be repointed, sandblasted, and all of that.
Sure.
So that's going to be expensive. And the house pretty much needs full restoration on the outside, and the roof structure, some of the gutters had pulled out, and some of the fascia boards pulled out in the storms, recent storms.
Yeah.
So that needs to be reworked, and then a new asphalt or new roof put on it. The interior, what our thinking is there is, I think we can do it mainly with volunteers, because the interior is in pretty good shape. It hasn't been touched. It's still historically pretty much accurate the way it was when it was built in 1896.
What is the status of fundraising towards restoration, and is there a general timeline in mind at this point, or probably always in flux?
The short term is we have not started a capital campaign, and we're doing some studies around should we do a full-blown capital campaign, and that will take place after we have absolutely kind of clear agreements with the town and with the foundation in terms of who's doing what. Right now, we're both sort of working on those issues. Our immediate goal is to raise about $300,000 or $300,000 to $400,000 between now and next spring, so we can tackle the work on the caretaker's house, preserve the roof, the metal structure on the lighthouse, on the
lighthouse tower.
We've had probably 150 community donors We got a small grant from the Maine Lighthouse Trust to work on the access issues. And access is absolutely critical. I mean, that's the thing that's going to make construction or, reworking things so expensive if we don't have good access.
Yeah, a lot of only maybe a small fraction of contractors would even consider doing a work like that.
And someone's have already told me that don't even ask.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. I know from experience. I want to talk more about restoration and the challenges being faced, but while I'm thinking of it, before we turn the microphones on here, we're talking about the lens from Curtis Island Lighthouse and also the fog bell that was out there. So let's start with the fog bell. What are the latest developments with that?
So that's so interesting. A couple of years ago, I did some research and found, I was wondering where the fog bell is, because we have one at the public landing, and I looked at it and I did some research, and that was donated on lease or on loan from the Coast Guard to the town. Yeah. And there's a plaque, and it's down on the town landing. And I said, that belongs on the island, because there's some beautiful pictures of the old fog bell on the island. And so for me, that was one of those historic things that just make it such a true place. So what I found out was this fog bell that I thought came off Curtis Island, it came off some other island, and we haven't located where it came from yet. But I wrote the article and said, does anyone know where our fog bell is? Lo and behold, someone said they took a picture and sent it to me. It's at the Deer Isle Stonington History Center. And so my wife is very interested in history and whatnot, so she's been in contact with them, and they're willing to make an exchange. So that hasn't happened yet, but we're working toward it. We also had to involve the Coast Guard, because that bell is on loan, and we found out that we couldn't just make the swap ourselves, so they have to be involved. But Deer Isle Stonington Historic Society has just been wonderful to work with, and that's still one of our dreams, to get that bell back, and if we can make it happen this summer, it'll happen.
Well, that's exciting. And the lens, it was a fourth order Fresnel lens, right? And I believe once upon a time, at least for a while, it was on display here in the library. But where is it now? Now
it's in the town office building, in the town hall building.
Yeah.
And it's right in the main entrance. You can just step in and look at it. It's just beautiful. It looks to be in perfect shape. We're hoping to get that back in the light tower.
That would be super exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the things that just keep us so excited about how do we preserve these.
Yeah.
And then also just a lot of objects, historic objects. I think when the Coast Guard left, I think they took most of the stuff. So the things that are in the Lightkeeper's house right now are more modern. There's not a lot of antiques. But part of our vision was, let's get people back in it as lightkeepers or as caretakers, and put the period pieces that belong there in there. Yeah. And like I said, it hasn't been messed up. It's in beautiful original shape with some paint and.
When I was in there, that seemed to be in good shape. Yeah. Well, it's all exciting. I'm thinking you sort of bring the place back to life, which in a sense is bringing it back to what it once was. I don't know if there's a particular period or year you're aiming for restoration. Sometimes though that'll be.
This is very unofficial. It's just how I personally feel. Yeah. I would like to put it back to. It was built in 1896, so sometime before it got modernized
under the Coast Guard.
Under the Coast Guard, because they brought a cable over, electricity, and I don't think we'll certainly never do that. But how do you make it so it can function and not necessarily pay for itself, but how do you restore it so it is an item of history?
Yeah. You mentioned paying for itself, and that is the ideal situation for any lighthouse if it can generate, funds to sustain it. And one of the ways people have done that at some lighthouses is to have overnight stays, of course. Is that anything that's entered into the conversation?
It's certainly been suggested. We haven't agreed on that. Yeah. But the thing right now is let's get this thing safely restored so it's not becoming more damaged every year. Yeah. And then you need to deal with sewerage and water.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Personally, right now it has an outhouse that's functioned well, and that's how things went for years and years.
Yeah.
And we have had a donation of a solar bathroom. I mean, not bathroom, outhouse.
Okay.
It looks just like an outhouse, but it has a solar mechanism that's been approved in Maine for Maine use in remote areas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot with the overnight stays. I was just wondering if that.
It's been suggested.
I would be surprised if it hadn't been discussed.
Along with weddings and things that could really raise money.
Absolutely.
And I guess right now I'd say we're not ready for that because there's so much to do. And there's so much infrastructure.
Step at a time, basically. Yeah. Well, you kind of mentioned it before, but we had. I live in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, a couple hours south of here, but all along the coast from New Hampshire up the Maine coast, there's been some major storms. There was one just before Christmas in 2022 that did quite a bit of damage, and then there were the back-to-back storms in January of last year, 10th and 13th, that did tremendous. I don't need to tell you, tremendous damage on the Maine coast. Did those affect Curtis Island?
Yes, greatly. So we have two sets of stairs. One I call the kayaker stairs. It's sort of a beach on the right as you're going out. And the other was where the caretakers with an outhall. And the stairs all got ripped out up to breaking point, like far above the water level.
Okay.
So we're dealing with one set gone and the other set refix the bottom 12 feet, vertical feet.
Okay.
Has been replaced. But our plan is we got a grant from the Maine Lighthouse Trust to look at access. And right now I have someone that's volunteered engineering work, so they've done all the plot work to then start planning what are you going to put for stairs. And so that'll be a conversation we have with the Harbor Committee of the town and funding.
Yeah.
And so we're raising money for that, but we also have enough to really get us started. People that have done a lot of island work are involved in it, like Rockport Steel. They've donated time and energy and ideas. So we've got a great group kind of trying to figure out how do we do this and not invite big boats to dump lots of people at one time.
Sounds good. But speaking of the storms, the overall picture, do you feel that climate change is impacting
for sure.
the island? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, so where the stairs are, the currents and the tide were unusual, and it ripped away a lot of the bank.
Yeah.
And so the bank that used to flow is gone. A part of it's gone. Trees are gone.
Yep.
And that has to be re-engineered, and I don't know how much rock has to be put back. But those are expensive deals. Luckily, we got through this winter without a big hit, but it was that combination of tide and extreme tides.
Yeah, king tides with those storms last year, very high tides,
And for them to repeat like
3 days apart. Yeah.
The buildings themselves, there's some wind damage, a little bit of water damage, but the buildings are all pretty high up, so they're unlikely to get anything other than spray.
Right.
But the wind and all the water coming down infiltrates the building.
So another thing I saw on the website is that you're looking for volunteers.
Yes.
What sorts of things would volunteers be doing?
Okay, so on this National Lighthouse Day that's coming up, we're going to have a volunteer day. And what we're doing is we're cleaning the caretaker's house. We, in the spring, will take down the shutters and put them back in the fall. And then we've been doing a lot of work on invasives on the island. There's a lot of Asian or Chinese bittersweet. And that's a huge problem on Maine islands. And so we have some people that are volunteers that are starting to do that, and I think we're going to have a plan just to go out and try to have an annual eradication, but it's so invasive.
Yeah.
The other thing we're doing is we'll be working on the areas that we can, like painting, making picnic tables. We've had a young man volunteer to make picnic tables. Someone else donated them.
Yeah.
So it's just moving stuff around, and then now it's getting all of the debris that's on the island off the island.
Mm-hmm.
So they're fun work days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Information on the website about how people can contact you if they're interested?
Yeah, they can volunteer, and then what I'll be doing this week is just putting out a notice to volunteers saying we need 15 volunteers.
Yeah.
What time do you want to start and end?
Mm-hmm. You never know who might be listening. There might be people in the
Yeah.
area who really love that
Yeah.
place and would be interested.
Yeah. And one of the things we want to do is use volunteers more. I mean, we have about 50 volunteers, and one of the struggles of having a completely volunteer board is how do you just hook people in to do work, and all of those events take a lot of planning and logistics. So,
sure. That's good, though. I mean, 50 volunteers for an operation like this is actually really good.
And there probably, I'd say maybe 20, 25 have been active.
Right.
And
that's
those
also
that haven't
good.
been is probably, on my watch, just taking too much time to get things going. But I'm trying to get people on land things like history.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 or 4 people on history.
Do presentations and things like that, or just do research it?
Researching it.
Yeah.
I've asked one volunteer to come up with the design for the old wooden structure, A-frame structure that held the light.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not the light, the bell,
Mm-hmm.
1,000-pound bell.
Yeah. So, Michael, I have one final question for you, okay? And this is for bonus points.
Okay. I wonder what that will be.
So sharpen your number 2 pencil, put on your thinking cap. The question is, why does Curtis Island Light Station need to be preserved?
The history of Maine, and my relatives came from Nova Scotia, and they were boat builders, sea captains, traveled all over the world. My grandfather worked at the Bath Iron Works, actually designing the models for casted bells and doorknobs and ship parts. And my dad worked for the Navy at the Bath Iron Works. I grew up in Brunswick, and I think knowing what the tradition is and how that was so important helps people understand how people lived then, how they got by.
Mm-hmm.
And life on an island it goes back. I mean, I was on a different island this week, and it was back to what it was like, the people that first settled it. And so there's such a story to tell, and these lighthouses have a lot of soul and a lot of memory that we need to re-expose people to. Mm-hmm. And I found that people that once they go onto the island, it's like you don't have to explain things because they feel it, and to me that's what it's about.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautifully said. You remind me of a guy I met like 30 years ago at a lighthouse, an offshore lighthouse near New Bedford, Mass., who I asked him with my VHS camcorder back at that time, why does this need to be saved? And he said, all you have to do is come out here once. You understand why it needs to be saved.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom.
And that's why we want to get people on the island, and it's just, without access, it's so hard. I mean, I brought people out last week in the middle of a wind, and to get the boat, a small boat, get it on an outhaul, seaweed and low tide or waves coming in from the north. It's both dangerous and it's hard.
Yeah. It is.
And so you spend, I think, any construction, I'm just figuring on 20, 25, 30% of wasted time just getting to the site and doing the work.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I'm so important. To me, it's so important to have safe access and efficient. And even if we pull it out after 5 years and highly manage it, so doesn't end up being a place for people to just get off a boat or park their boat and come onto the island.
Yeah.
And I just like to say, Jeremy, the work you're doing is so important to kind of help us all connect into other lighthouses. And before this, I was talking about Burnt Coat Harbor Light.
Yeah, I was just there a few days ago.
And you were just there. And the folks there that have been involved, we got to know, and they were instrumental in giving us energy to let's do something. Because if you don't do it, hopefully someone will do it, will pick it up, but it's just not going to be done with public funds.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that. It's going to take more.
I agree with you there. Well, Michael, this is great. It's great meeting you and spending this time with you. I'm glad, like you said, we were trying to line this up for a while, so I'm really glad it worked out. I just got off the schooner Merry Day after a week and came to interview you, so it's been a great week for me. So thank you so much, and I look forward to following the progress and getting out on the island again sometime.
Yeah, well, next time you're here, just let me know.
Okay,
and
I will.
I can go after dinner or early 6 o'clock in the morning. Those are the best times.
Yeah, right. That's true. I'm not usually an early morning person, but if it means getting to a island lighthouse like that early in the morning, yeah, there's no better time, really. So thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
You can learn more about the Curtis Island Lighthouse Foundation at curtisisland.org. The entire preservation plan is on the site, along with a visioning plan that was mentioned in the interview. There's also information about donating, and you can sign up to be on their mailing list for news.
You know, there's just something about going in and out of Camden Harbor on a boat and passing Curtis Island. It's a small lighthouse, but I think of it as just a perfect scene. It kind of reminds me of the Nubble Light in southern Maine and York. You know, it's one of those scenes you just can't imagine. You can't create a prettier scene in your imagination. I think they're just perfect. And also the park there at Camden Harbor. I love to just sit on a bench and look at the harbor. There's a nice park right by the harbor. I think I've said it once or twice. It's my favorite harbor. So my thanks again to Michael Skaling for the interview. I have a question for you, Cindy.
Okay.
This is for bonus points, okay?
Uh-oh.
Okay, and here's the question. I just finished putting together an index for this podcast, going back to June of 2019.
Wow.
How many times do you think you've co-hosted?
Oh, boy. Wow, this is a tough one. I would say at least over 100.
Yes.
I would say not 150.
No.
Maybe in the 120s.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
128 is the answer.
okay, I'll take it. I like that.
That's-
I like even numbers. I like it, and I get my bonus points.
You do. You definitely get bonus points for that.
Awesome.
You know, this is episode 325, but there's also been a bunch of special episodes that didn't have numbers. I won't even count the Lighthearted Light episodes, which are kind of re-edited, older ones. So without those, it's well over 350, really.
Wow.
And our other frequent co-host, Michelle Jewel Shaw, has co-hosted almost the exact same number as you. It's neck and neck. I'm not going to say, I don't even know which one of you is ahead, but it's very, very close.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Not that it's a competition or anything like that.
I like that we're right about the same. That's cool.
Yeah, but you guys have been such an important part of it. So nice to have you back on board with this episode. As I said, don't be a stranger.
No, I won't.
Okay, good. So we're now past Labor Day. In fact, actually, we're recording this on Labor Day night.
Yep.
And the official start of fall is in a couple of weeks. I think for a lot of people, Labor Day is like the end of summer. Do you have, by any chance, a quote about the end of summer?
I do. Well, kind of. It's a quote with a broader meaning, really. The Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, quote, "New beginnings are often disguised as painful endings," unquote.
I think that's definitely true from my experience. Put another way, and this is something my mother used to say to me often, it's always darkest before the dawn. And, this kind of thing also makes me think of the light and the darkness. The lighthouse is a symbol of hope, which I think is a very powerful thing. And
Absolutely.
I think big part of why we love lighthouses. So I'll say it again. I've said it at least a couple of times already, but I'll say it again. Thank you for co-hosting. Thank you for co-hosting today, Cindy.
Well, thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Of course. A quick reminder to check out uslhs.org to learn more about what the U.S. Lighthouse Society has to offer. Remember that donations and memberships help to support this podcast. We will be back with a Lighthearted Light episode next week and a brand new episode featuring our favorite lighthouse, Portsmouth Harbor, in 2 weeks. Yeah, you want to listen to that one, Cindy.
Oh, for sure.
For now, to all our regular listeners and our new ones, thanks so much for listening, and
keep a good light.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.